Okay. So, good evening, everyone. This is your sourcing Bhaijan, and I'm the founder for Recruiting Adda. And today we have Ashfaq with us as a as a guest speaker, and he's going to talk about ChatGPT. So it's been a while that we haven't had webinars, online webinars here. The last webinar we had was from Sarang. Again, he spoke a lot on ChatGPT, but he's mostly spoke on the branding aspects. Now today, Ashfaq is going to actually talk about the sourcing aspects, and there are quite a few interesting things which Ashfaq is going to talk about. Now, before I get into more details about the webinar, let me give you a background about Ashfaq. So, Ashfaq is the founder of RecruitingMonk, and I am sure everyone knows about RecruitingMonk. And this is the first time where Recruiting Adda and RecruitingMonk be coming together and be doing these webinars. And then there are going to be a lot of events which are going to happen in collaboration with Recruiting Adda and RecruitingMonk. So this is the first step towards that. And just to give you a background about Ashfaq, I mean, he started his journey as a recruiter, and then he moved on to build delivery teams from scratch for South India at IKEA. And now he's been helping firms in building talent solutions and talent frameworks. Now, his urge to solve these recruitment puzzles helped him start this Recruiting Monk, which is an online community for recruiters. Okay, so he's been doing a lot of things. So we've had a lot of discussions last time when we met in Bangalore. So there are a lot of tools, there are a lot of things which he's building. So we're going to talk about those things later as well. But today we're going to talk about ChatGPT in talent acquisition. So how in this today's webinar, we're going to see how we're going to deconstruct JD. So there are a lot of technical jargons which we basically don't understand. There are a lot of how do we analyze and understand those jargons using ChatGPT. That's what Ashfaq is going to cover. He's going to cover some parts on data visualization and how to revolutionize your dashboard. So that's what we're going to look at. Now, the ChatGPT is all about prompts. So Ashfaq is going to help us on getting those better outcomes from the prompts. So what kind of prompts should be used on ChatGPT? So that's what we're going to actually look at. So thank you, Ashfaq, for being a part of this and helping our community on ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is the happening topic and hot topic at the moment. And you must have seen, I mean, we've got more than 800 registrations so far, and there would be people who would be joining in live as well. So over to you, Ashfaq, and then we would love to hear from you on how position.
Thanks, Yusuf. Thanks for the quick introduction. Yusuf, you see people commenting and stuff. Do you see that? Folks, you have joined in. Can you comment? Because I get to see something going.
Yes, I am also not able to see the comments.
Folks, if you've joined in, can you drop in a comment? It says wait for the host to start. Folks, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear? Okay, awesome. So I think people can hear us. Cool. So thanks, Yusuf, for the quick introduction, and thanks for everyone for tuning in. I'll just set the quick context behind this session. So firstly, you all know, you people who are in India who've been following Recruiting Adda, RecruitingMonk, I think you must be aware. We've been doing some work in the TA world. And last time when I met Yusuf during the TaskCon, and then again I met him in Bangalore. So that's when the discussion came in. Since both of us are doing things for the community, we are doing training and a lot of other events. We thought let's collaborate, do an event together, so that it would help or bring in more value to the community, right? So this is the first step towards in that direction, and this is also to tell many people out there, as communities, if we come together, we can create a bigger impact, a more impact to the talent acquisition folks, right? So yeah, that's the initiative we have taken, and we'll try to come up with more events or more collaborations wherever possible, which could help in benefiting the community at a larger spectrum, right? So in today's discussion, what I'll be discussing is we'll be talking about ChatGPT in context to TA. I think there's a lot of content out there in context to how do you write a mail, how do you write a message, right? How can you come up with content which is enticing? There's a lot of content around content writing, because people from the marketing side are talking about it, and even people from the TA branding side are talking about it. But there are many other aspects of ChatGPT which we could leverage, and that's where I'll be focusing on. I won't be focusing more on the side of the content generation, right? There's one angle which is purely on the content generation angle. I will not be focusing on those lines. I'll be focusing on other aspects where we could really leverage ChatGPT and also understand the limitations of ChatGPT, right? Since we talk about ChatGPT today, still there's a lot of things where there are limitations around ChatGPT. With any tool which you use, you need to understand the limitation of the tool. If you don't understand the limitation of the tool, then what happens? You become over-dependent on the tool. And that's not great. When you become over-dependent on any tool without knowing the limitation, then you don't know where else to go for, right? So a bunch of things which we'll be discussing. I'll quickly start sharing my screen. Just give me a minute. Yusuf, can you put my screen on this thing? So let me know once you put the screen on this thing. Yeah, I think it's on. Folks, can you see the screen? Is it visible? Is the screen visible? Yeah, I hope the screen is visible. Okay, so this is the quick outline of what we will be discussing. We'll be discussing about a fundamental structure of prompting, right? What kind of a fundamental structure we need to follow, and what are the things which we can understand, JD, roles, technology, and bunch of other things, right? And then we'll talk about sourcing, where we can use, where we cannot use sourcing. And then power of TA dashboards. This is something which is very exciting piece about the ChatGPT. How can you leverage ChatGPT in context to dashboards? There's a new tool. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of, which is common, called as Code Interpreted, and that is a crazy tool which helps you in terms of creating large, complex dashboards, and it could be really interesting in a TA context, right? And also we'll be talking about top prompts for TA. So before we get into this, let's start with the first basic thing. Let's talk about the methodology of prompting, right? Which of the methodologies do you follow? I will say this is one, right? And this I will classify it as two, right? This is all one, and this is two. This one is one, and this one is two. Which of the prompting methodologies do you use? Do you use the first one or the second one? You use the first one or second one? Can you put it on the chat? Which one do you use? You use the first one or the second one? Help me understand XYZ. What is ABC? Can you act like X and help me create Y? Which of the models do you use in terms of ChatGPT? Can you just quickly let me know in the comments? Is it 1 or 2? Is it 1 or 2? What is your prompting methodology? Folks, 1 or 2, what is your prompting methodology in ChatGPT? Mostly first, mostly second. Others, what's your prompting methodology? Is it first or second? Help me understand XYZ. What is ABC? Can you act like X and help me create Y? Second, okay. Okay, so now most of them use the first methodology. As far as I have seen people using prompting, they use first methodology, and a very few of them use the second methodology, wherein you tell ChatGPT how to act, right? You tell ChatGPT, okay, you're going to act like a senior tech recruiter of 10 years experience and help me understand X. You're going to act like a hiring manager with 15 years of experience and help me understand ABC. So this is called as giving a role to the ChatGPT and giving a prompt accordingly, right? So now these are the two prompts which are more famous, which are out there, okay? And very few people use the second one, and that is actually slightly the smart way of doing it. The smart way of doing it is actually telling ChatGPT what exactly you want ChatGPT to act as, right? It could be as a senior recruiter or a manager TA, manager or a manager technology, anything. And then ask ChatGPT to act in a certain manner and then give the output, right? So this is the very least used, and this is the best one. And then this is the most used prompts. Now let's understand prompt classifications. So what are the different kinds of prompt classification? Now, if you look at this is the most basic, as I was telling, and this is actually the average prompt. What is this average prompt? Why is this average? Because this is better than the basic, right? By the way, this is better than the basic, but not up to the mark. I would not say it is 10 on 10, but yeah, it is a lot better than the basic. So what we do in an average is you set a context to ChatGPT saying, okay, this is the context, meaning you want to act like this person and help me decode or understand this, right? And this is a lot better than a basic prompt because you're defining ChatGPT how to act. The personality, the persona. So the minute you define ChatGPT to act like a hiring manager, what happens? ChatGPT gets the context, understands the persona, and knows how to go about. So that's why this is a lot better prompt than a basic help me understand XYZ, because you're not giving a context to ChatGPT. So we need to understand ChatGPT is what? Is a large text model. It is trained on billions of data set. Okay. If you don't give context, then what will happen is it will not know what is the context behind your question. If you're asking ChatGPT to explain, let's say, for example, technology without giving a context, then ChatGPT might explain your technology in a manner you don't understand, right? In a manner that you don't understand, because maybe it is a developer, because you have not defined the context. So that's where this is mostly basic and doesn't really work in most of the cases. And this is a lot better, but even though it's average. Now this is called as advanced, and that I call it prompt training. Okay. What is prompt training all about? Prompt training is where you give a sample data to ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT how it needs to act in a certain fashion. So once you give a prompt sample to ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT to act in a certain manner, then what will happen is you are actually telling ChatGPT with the sample data, which is way better than the context of a persona. Here you are defining a persona, which is fine. But here is not just the persona, but you're giving a sample data, saying, okay, this is how a data needs to be. And then you follow it up with a prompt saying, okay, this is what I want you to decode. This is called as the, and this is what is called as prompt engineering, because you are engineering the prompt here. You're getting it? You are engineering the prompt. You're telling the prompt, okay, this is my sample data, because we need to understand how machine learning works, right? The fundamentals, not the nitty-gritties around it, the fundamentals. The fundamentals of machine learning is what the machine learns from data. We all know it, right? There's something called a supervised learning, there's something called unsupervised learning. We're not getting into the details of what is machine learning, okay? But the foundation is the machine learns from the more interactions or data points. That's the foundation of machine learning. So in this context, the word prompt engineering, the reasoning behind this is exactly this. You need to engineer the prompt, right? You need to tell the prompt, okay, this is my sample data, and keeping this as a reference, you're going to give me the rest of the output. So now what becomes important here? Your sample data and your reference becomes important. In a way, you have to act like a trainer to ChatGPT. In a way, you have to act like a trainer to ChatGPT. The more better trainer you are, the best the output will be, right? So I hope you would have got a definition behind what exactly prompt engineering means, right? Now, there is another level here in terms of tuning the data or training the data further. This is done by data scientists and ML engineers, okay? On top of the, let's say, a model like ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is not the only language model, right? Large language model. Technically, it is called as LLM, right? So there are a lot of tools which have come in. We might be knowing Bard and ChatGPT, but actually there are tons of others, right? There are tons of others like ChatGPT and Bard, okay? Now, what do techies do is, like data scientists and ML engineers, they take these models and they actually train further. That is called as fine-tuning. They fine-tune the model based on their industry or the context. We need not know this. Just for the information, I'm telling you what do data scientists and ML engineers do. Okay. So this is more high level. You need to train the already existing model with large amount of data. Then you need data scientists and ML engineers. So here, what you are doing is you are actually training the data, but it is very small amount. It's not like as large as some millions of data sets. When it becomes a very large amount, that's where data scientists and ML engineers come into picture. Okay. Now let's pick up a sample, job description. Now let's understand how do we give a prompt to ChatGPT in a manner that ChatGPT understands what exactly you mean and then tries to give an output. So now I'm telling ChatGPT, hey, look, given a job description, create a program that analyzes the text, provides key insights such as required skills, qualification, experience level, so and so, and then I'm giving a sample data. You see that? I'm defining a sample data to ChatGPT. I'm telling ChatGPT, okay, this is a sample data for you, right? Software engineer, so and so, and the output. I'm also defining the output. This job is for a software engineer position. So this is my sample data. This is how the job description will look like. And this is how the output summary will look like. Now you are heading in the direction of engineering the prompt. You're heading in the direction of engineering the prompt. I'm not going to talk a lot about these pieces because there's a lot of content already available out there on these pieces. So I'm not going to talk or touch base on these things. I'm going to delve a little more into this piece, right? Keeping in mind, it is all about engineering the prompt. Okay. So now once we do this, tell ChatGPT, give ChatGPT a sample data and also the output, and then follow it up with an actual JD. Okay. So now I picked up a very large actual JD here. It's a very large actual JD. I just picked it up from the web. This is for an AI engineer role. Okay. You see this? We are for a senior AI developer. Okay. I just picked it up from the web. I wanted to pick something fairly complex, so I picked up a very large JD. Now, as a recruiter, it's difficult to really understand new roles which keeps coming in, right? It's difficult. Even if I get a new role which I have never worked in the past, it becomes difficult for me to really correlate what exactly is required from this role. So that's where these kind of prompts can help you deconstruct the JD, because ChatGPT is already trained with billions of data sets. Now let's pick this. I'm going to go to ChatGPT. So this is your training data, and then this is your actual JD. Okay, so this is the prompt. I've picked this up, and I go to ChatGPT now. Okay, so I use 4 as well. So you can use whether it is 4 or 3, right? I copy paste everything and then say boom, right? I've given a sample data. I've given how it needs to work. Now ChatGPT is working in the background. You see how huge the JD is. It is going to decode it for me, right? So now it comes up with summary. It comes up with keywords. It comes up with a note, right? So now this gives me a fair bit of context in terms of what exactly I need. Okay. Now you can further refine this. Okay, I've given some prompt to this. I can even refine this prompt based on what I need. I can tell in the prompt itself, hey, look, can you put all the functional terms separately and keep the technical terms separate? Because you see there are a lot of functional terms coming in to play. I don't want these functional terms to be coming into play. So I can tell ChatGPT, hey, look, can you keep the functional terms aside and the technical terms aside? So that gives me more clarity in terms of what exactly is required, right? So this is what it means engineering the prompt. Is this helpful, folks? Did you find this interesting? If yes, you can. Folks, did you find this interesting? The way or the method of engineering the prompt? Folks, did you find this interesting? The engineering piece? Yeah, cool. Awesome. We'll move ahead. I think screen seems to be working fine for a lot of them out there. I think it's working fine for a lot of them out there. I think very few people having some problem because it seems to be working at my end. Hey, yeah, I will not be able to repeat concepts here because the time is so short. I have to wrap it up in next 30-35 minutes, right? I don't have time. Probably you could do a replay of this. Okay, you could do a pretty much a replay of this that would actually help you get a sense of what was discussed, right? So keeping the interest of mind, what I'll do is I will move to the next piece of discussion. Okay, now search prompt, right? Prompt is nothing but telling the ChatGPT how to design a Boolean search, right? So we're telling it, we're giving a prompt, design a Boolean search using the given sample data to source candidates for Java developer. The search string should include specific keywords and logical operators. Sample data, again, we're giving a sample data. We're giving a framework, right? You see that there's a framework here. We're giving a framework, use the sample data, and then consider the following example. So now, again, you can define this example in a lot better ways, however you want to. Okay. Now, again, and then comes the explanation of the role, and then comes the real JD. So you see this still here, it is nothing but actually the prompt engineering. You're giving a sample data and an explanation. This is nothing but sample data till here, right? This is all sample data. And then comes actually the real JD, right? So again, the JD is, I just copy pasted, the software AI engineer role, I just copy pasted this, right? So now let's throw this to ChatGPT with an engineered prompt, right? So let's throw this to ChatGPT. Okay, so now I'm going to put this out to ChatGPT there. Right. So now this is the Boolean search which ChatGPT has given me. All the designations are clustered. Here, language is in one side. All the machine learning is in one bucket, right? The Hadoop and big data, right? And the TensorFlow and stuff. You can even refine further and ask ChatGPT to remove all these functional things. You can refine it further. You can ask ChatGPT to remove functional words what you don't need. But you look at this Boolean. This Boolean is way better when you tell ChatGPT, hey, create a Boolean for the below JD. If you tell ChatGPT, hey, create a Boolean for the below JD, trust me, that's not even close to 60-70%. For this particular Boolean, I would rate it somewhere around 70%, right? 70-75% I'll rate it. There is still tweaks which is possible on this, but anyone who's not a great Boolean user, I think for that person, this is an amazing tool to really go about, right? But again, it again depends on how much do you understand Boolean or search creation, because you have to train. You got to be a trainer. You got to be a trainer. That's the thing about prompt engineering, right? You have to engineer it. So this is one example wherein you get to understand the Boolean can be a lot better if you engineer the prompt really well. Okay, now comes the magic. Let's come to ChatGPT magic. What is this magic all about? This is about the most powerful thing on ChatGPT. And what is that most powerful thing? That is nothing but plugins. I think most of you will be using the free version. Trust me, there's not much fun with the free version. Okay. You want to really go explore ChatGPT. The fun is in the plugins of the ChatGPT, not in the real ChatGPT itself, right? So you need to leverage the plugins out there, and that would help you explore a lot many avenues of ChatGPT, and that's more fun, trust me. Now let's discuss about the plugin, which is very, very crucial in terms of ChatGPT. That plugin is this. I'll create probably a new chat. Go to the plugin GPT-4. I need a GPT-4. Go to plugins, and then so I go with WebPilot. Right. So WebPilot is an amazing plugin available for ChatGPT-4, and you see what is this going to do. So we're going to tell ChatGPT to do sourcing for you. Okay. So you see this? You're going to tell ChatGPT to do sourcing for you, and then it's going to populate data for you. Okay. Yeah. So now I'm going to give this to ChatGPT. Right. My prompt says, here's my company list, Rapido, Dunzo, Cred. For each company, go to Google, type this, return the first 10. When you're done, return the data in table, URL, name of the person, job title, and boom. So now the plugin is going to work in the background. It's going to pull out data by going to Google and then index the data and bring it out to you. Okay. So this is very powerful. And how it does is nothing but it is more like an X-ray search. Okay, whatever is possible on X-ray search, you could do it.
They do some kind of a scraping, which is again fairly possible through app scripts and other stuff. I'm not getting into technicalities to tell you how it works in the background, but yeah, what this plugin does is it leverages the natural language of ChatGPT and does a Google search in short. Okay, in short, that's what it does. Okay, it leverages the power of ChatGPT. Now you see the magic happening. You see the magic, right? You open any of the, I'm going to open this profile. You see, I'm on the profile of a software engineer, Rapido, right? Magic, sounds fun. Sounds fun. You see this? In just a few minutes, I have 30 profiles right there, right? It's coming. Rapido, Dunzo. I'm going to get all the data in just a few minutes because I've defended Rapido, Dunzo, and Cred, right? But the point is, you cannot weed out hundreds of data every day because this tool has its own limitations. Sometimes it will get buggy. Sometimes it will tell you, hey, I can't scrape further. Okay. But yeah, this would work really well if you want to scrape maybe around some 100, 150 a day, maybe. That should work. Okay. I haven't tried it every day, but yeah, I've tried it for a decent number of times. I've been using this for about like more than a month now. And then this piece is fun. How do you guys find this tool? Do you find this interesting? You see, again, Dunzo, we have it. Immediate joiner. Anyone who's hiring software engineers at Dunzo, you can go talk to this guy. Looks good, right? How do you guys find this particular tool? It is Web Pilot ChatGPT. You find this interesting? It is only for ChatGPT users, four users, plus users. Right. Yeah. So this is the magic behind ChatGPT, and you could do a little more. What else you could do here is, let me try something. Visit Rapido, or let's say Cred website. Understand their business. Populate top 10 competitors of Cred, right? And then what else? Written the data. Populate top competitors of Cred. Figure out the employee size of each of the competitors. Written the data in table. In table along with name, LinkedIn URL, right? Employee size. Boom. So yep, it goes to figure out the competitors for you. It's going to figure out the employee size of those competitors, and then it's going to return the LinkedIn URL of all these competitors. So this is fun. Okay. Okay, I should have given a last line saying, hey, don't give me Gyan, right? It's going to give me Gyan before it gives text, right? It gives me the real result, it's going to give me a lot of text explaining me about Cred, this, that, right? I don't want that. I should have given a note in the end saying, hey, don't give me Gyan, right? Well, don't give me explanation, just return the data. So then in that case, it would have done it. But yeah, I missed that line. So yep, it's populating. It will take a few minutes. I've done this exercise before. It takes a few minutes and then boom. It saves your amount of work which you do in terms of research, trying to figure out the competitors, and also the biggest pain today, if you're not using a recruiter license, is to know the size of the employees, right? You don't get to know it, the size of the employees. That's a big pain being a recruiter. So now that pain is solved if you can really leverage this piece in your entire search, right? Cool. So now I think it's going to take some time. Okay, I think maybe I can show this meanwhile. And this is the prompt I gave it to earlier, right? Visit Rapido, understand its core activity, use Google to find top competitors, return the data in table, company name, size of employees, and stuff. And then it gave me, this is how it works. It's taking time out there. So I thought, okay, I'll show you from my previous prompts, right? This is the data you get it. Just in a few minutes, you should get it, right? Is it working? It's still working. It's going to take some time. Okay. But yeah, so this is how it works. This is the prompt which you use to understand your competitors, right? So this is the ChatGPT magic. Okay, now this is, I would not say, okay, this is this. I do save this. This is not sourcing. Sourcing is that one. This is like what? Company mapping, competitor mapping, right? So yep. So now ChatGPT looks super cool so far, right? But let's talk about some limitations of ChatGPT. Okay. So let's talk about some limitations of ChatGPT. So here's a sourcing flaw. This is I created this long time back, so I had to copy paste the chat so that I don't miss it. Right? So this is what it is. So I was talking to ChatGPT, trying to understand, hey, explain me what is in Google X-ray search, there are operators called as cite and in URL, right? So I was asking ChatGPT, hey, can you explain me how these operators work? Right? And I wanted to see how smart ChatGPT is going to be and how it's going to give me results. I wanted to figure this out. So what I did, okay, let me throw this out to ChatGPT and understand how it gives me results, right? So now, this is the response ChatGPT gave me to explain me what it is. And then it went on. I asked, what are the top 5 Google operators other than cite and in URL? Okay. So then it went on to tell me that piece also, right? And then I asked, okay, give me a use case of using in-text. It was talking about in-text, okay? And then it explained me about in-text operator, how it is used. But here comes the catch. It says if you want to index the body text, you have to use this. I asked, okay, what do you mean by body text? Tell me. It tells me body text refers to the main content or the textual information. Okay. And then I asked, okay, tell me about a use case of in-text in reference to searching on LinkedIn through Google. And then it says, okay, finding specific professionals or individuals. This is what it says. You use this operator to find what? To find specific professionals or individuals. I'm like, hey, I don't need this operator. Okay. Then I was like, what if I don't use in-text and write marketing, digital marketing? What will happen? Then, even when then I'll get profiles which have these terms, isn't it? And then it says yes, right? And it says, apologies for the confusion, you are correct. When you use this operator, you are specifically limiting the search to profiles on LinkedIn. In that case, you will get primarily individual profiles from LinkedIn. So it later corrected, saying, okay, we don't need certain things, certain operators, which it initially suggested me to use it. And when I went on probing with ChatGPT, it agreed, because ChatGPT is like that notorious kid, doesn't really agree it is wrong, because it is trained that way. Okay, it is trained with billions of data, and it thinks it's too smart many a times when it has erred, right? So then you have to push ChatGPT to explain, hey, boss, you're wrong here. And I had to explain with 2-3 prompts, trying to make ChatGPT understand it is wrong. So what I'm trying to tell you here is, there are certain areas which has limitations to ChatGPT, because ChatGPT naturally is not trained to perform search. But ChatGPT is trained with enormous amount of documentations. Like there is a Google Docs. which talks about how these operators are used, where it is used. And then there are a lot of blogs of top recruiters who write it, right? How to search and all. So all of that it is trained. Okay. Now there's all of this information. Now there's also information in context to digital marketing, right? How to use all these things in context to digital marketing. All of this is like you made a cocktail out of ChatGPT, right? Everything is trained. Now, when you give general input and ask ChatGPT, it's going to give you output which may not be that great. And this is where prompt engineering becomes powerful. And to be a good prompt engineer, you need to be someone who is a subject matter expert of your industry. If you're not an SME of your domain, how will you engineer the prompt? Because if you're using ChatGPT just to learn, and when you're not being an SME, then I think that could be a little tricky. Right? When you're doing, like, for example, sometimes when I use ChatGPT to understand some technical nitty-gritties, I don't know whether it is right or not, because that's not my matter of expertise. So probably I have to get a techie to actually clear some clutter, right? Understand, okay, tell the techie who's with me, hey boss, this is what I want. Okay, what is not right in this information? And then I have to do all that, right? And then it gets better. So the point here is, don't rely on ChatGPT solely for your searches. Then you are limiting yourself within a defined methodology of search which ChatGPT provides. Okay, cool. So now moving forward, dashboard. Okay, this is the most interesting piece which I love today, and I've been trying to play around. I think in India, it's been 2 weeks since this is live. I'm not sure how many of you have come across this super amazing tool called as Code Interpreter. What is it? It is called as Code Interpreter. Right? Even if you're using a paid plugin, you may not have got it by now because ChatGPT has a random way of giving it to people. So you may not have got it. I got this just like 2 weeks back, but this is available in US for last 2 months. It is available. So how do you make this on? You go to settings if you're using a paid one. Okay, beta features, Code Interpreter. Okay, if you're using a paid version, you can go check out, do you have this? Go to settings, go to beta features and see if this option is available. Okay, if this is available, what you do is you just turn that on and it can do some amazing magic for you. I'll tell you what it did for me. I just scraped this data. This data is about engineering managers, where I have all the names of techies, and then I have their headline. This headline includes what? Their designation, company name, right? Sometimes skills, right? It includes these 3 things. So I gave a prompt to ChatGPT telling ChatGPT, hey, look, I asked it to focus on column B of the sheet because that's where that occupation is, the title headline is. Okay, I said, okay, focus on this designations and skills separately. Okay, and then segregate data into 3: designations, skills, company names, and make a heat map for designations and skills separately. It did crash a bit, but it was able to get me the designations heat map, right? It is a new plugin, but it's fairly good. What you should not do is don't try to give too many action items in the first prompt. I was trying to tell Code Interpreter actually to do 2-3 things in the one prompt. So it wasn't actually doing it well. It was crashing. So it is better to give one action item. You can give a lot of amazing stuff to it. I'll just give you an example here. What it did to me after this prompt. Okay, what it did to me. This is what it gave me. This gave me an amazing heat map of the designation. Now I know if I'm a sourcer, one thing if you ask me what I missed today is, because I'm a data-driven sourcer. If you've been following me, if you've attended my sessions, I keep talking about how do you bring in data principles to search. This is something I've been talking about, and this is one of the topics which I love to discuss. And if you ask me as a sourcer, I would tell you this visualization for me which tells me how many people, what kind of words they use, and it gives me the number. I would love this. So I gave some around 800 odd engineering managers to ChatGPT code interpreter, and it gave me an amazing visualization telling me, boss, these many people use like these. Right. My keyword input to scrape this data was nothing, engineering manager, double quotes. That's it. So I know engineering manager with double quotes, they use these kind of designations, right? There are people who use these kind of words as well. And you see this full stack engineers, there are only 3 people, only 3, less than 3, right? Senior software engineering manager. Now I know that I don't need a manager. Sorry, I would not, maybe I don't need an architect. Right? This is an engineering manager, right? So I don't need an architect. So what I could do, okay, I can count how many architects are parallelly overlapping. It is maybe around 10, 15 overall, right? Solution architect, software architect. So I can know what to do now to get the most quality data out. So this is just one example. Again, how you do this is simple. You go here. You need to turn on the the plugin. You see this code interpreter? You turn this on, then you will see a file to add. You see? So you can add any of your Excel sheets. Okay. And make sure when you use this, you can use this for what? You can use this for creating your talent intelligence reports. And that would work amazingly well. One thing you need to be careful while doing this is ensure you don't give any sensitive information of your candidate's mobile number and mail IDs. Anything outside that is fine, right? Let's say you pulled out a data from Naukri, and then what you do is that data, you remove the number and mail ID. You just have the designation, you have the skills, you have company, you have salary, you have location. Can you imagine how much market intelligence you can come up with these kind of amazing dashboards? This is just one such example. You can say you want a pie chart, bar chart. What do you want? Right? If you're someone who's statistical enough of visualizing what kind of data do you want, maybe that also you can separately go to ChatGPT and ask, okay, what are the possible visualizations? Right? You'll get an idea. Then come feed your data and then tell code interpreter, but make sure you give one action point at a time, one action point. If you give too many action points, at this point it crashes. Maybe it would get better in the near future. So this will make your job of creating amazing talent reports like crazy. You just have to pull out data and give it to code interpreter and it can interpret. Not just that, it can do mathematical calculations for you. Let's say you have some data, last 3 months data, which tells how is your interview to offer to joinee, all these data points you have it, and you give it to the code interpreter and ask it to predict in the next 3 months. It will predict and give you what could be the potential offers you could generate based on the last quarter. That is super crazy about code interpreter. You just need to have some data points, give that data and ask it to do some statistical analysis, and it will do it in an amazing manner. And trust me, you would love it. Right. So you should explore this code interpreter. It's super cool. If you can afford $20, you should end up buying this. And this has been like live for a while now, and this is the talk of the town. ChatGPT is nothing without these plugins, as far as I'm concerned. I love playing with these plugins. Right. Cool. So how did you find this? This is interesting. Yes, that is one thing which I was talking about. Yeah, about the keywords and stuff. Right. But yeah, there are so many other use cases you can use it. Yeah, everyone will get this entire deck. You will get it through your WhatsApp or the mail, right? You would have got a message about the workshop from WhatsApp or mail, right? So whatever your source is, whether it's a WhatsApp or a mail, you should get it. Probably by tomorrow, I'll ask the team to send it out. They'll send it out, right? Cool. So yeah, this is one interesting piece of ChatGPT. Moving on, what next? Okay, top prompts. Let's talk about a few top prompts. Okay, HM intake. You're going to say, hey, I'll be meeting my hiring manager to discuss the recently opened DevOps engineer role. help me with a framework to derive right insights from this discussion, which will help me screen and validate right candidates, right? So you can give this, and then you can get some insights from it, right? So this is where you are making ChatGPT act in a certain manner, right? But yeah, you can also engineer this, which is the next level. I cannot be talking about engineering every prompt because that itself is a separate topic of engineering. Because if I talk about engineering your prompt for, let's say, assessing a candidate, that itself is a 2-3 hour topic. First, we need to understand how do you assess, what is the framework of it, and then you go to prompt engineering. Right? Prompt engineering is the last step. First is understanding what is that you want. That's where domain understanding, domain expertise comes into picture. And then you leverage that framework to feed it to the prompt. Okay. So I cannot really engineer these prompts right now because that needs a separate exercise by itself. Okay. So that's why I've given the role to a ChatGPT saying, hey, you are the, right, you're going to act in a certain manner. Okay. So here again, candidate engagement. Act as a tech recruitment expert and share top 5 questions around DevOps engineer, which will help me understand the current role of or KPIs of a candidate, which I could in turn share it with the hiring manager. Okay. Basic talent intel reports. Which companies in Bangalore have a large number of data engineers? You can check that. Okay. Basic, not really. ChatGPT is not trained to give you the latest data, but yeah, to an extent, it could really work with older data and stuff. Diversity, oh yeah, this could work. List out top online forums or communities or Facebook groups in India for LGBTQ. Right? This is fun actually. It will lead you to a lot of groups. Right? So now I give this to ChatGPT. You'll get some top groups. You see that? Some Facebook groups and stuff. You'll get it, right? So this they have an active Facebook group, and so this you can leverage it with ChatGPT to do your diversity hiring. Right? Last time it gave me some, what is it? It gave me the URL of the Facebook groups also. If you tell it to give URLs of Facebook groups, I'm sure it will give you some URLs of Facebook groups. Right? I did ask it for URLs last time. I think it gave me the URLs. Yeah, here it is. Last time I asked it. So it gave me all these URLs, right? You see Facebook URLs. I have some Facebook groups also, which it ended up throwing. Rather than you going and searching for these groups, you can get it right here. Right? I just gave it, okay, list out top online forums or communities or Facebook groups in India for LGBTQ. Right? So this could help in terms of your diversity hiring. Okay. And then, so yeah, so this is what it is. Well, the entire purpose behind this session is to tell you how can you engineer prompts. If you've been following me for a while, you would know that I'm someone who keeps focusing on talking about the foundation and fundamentals a lot more. Every time I'm someone who talks about, hey, you need to get your foundations right. You need to get your fundamentals right. Don't go behind the buzzwords. So again, I would say the same. It's about your fundamentals and foundations. Number one, even the way you prompt, I'm sure most of you would have got a new perspective about what exactly prompt engineering means, right? So that is again a foundation and fundamental. How do you engineer a prompt? Right? Most of them have not been engineering the prompt. We've just been throwing a text, right? Or the least probably what we would have done is we would have given a context to ChatGPT saying, hey, you're going to act like a hiring manager or a senior recruiter. That is called as context, but that is not prompt engineering. So that's one thing which I've addressed because again, getting the foundation right, number one. Number two, to get your prompt engineering right, you need to have certain foundations and framework to understand what exactly you want to train ChatGPT. Okay. So yep, so the plan is to do a long-term session for this. So I'm planning to do a paid prompt mastery for TA. This could be a 3 to 4 hours session along with a prompt mastery for TA book. So I've been preparing one book for a while now. So if you'd be interested in this, I've not decided the time, the cost of it, but this will be a paid one for 3 to 4 hours. Time and cost is not decided. But if you'd be interested in taking this up, just drop a message to my LinkedIn or maybe to the WhatsApp, what you've received. You would have received a WhatsApp message or an email. You can reply back to that. And then we can take it up from there, because I've not decided on the dates and also the cost of it. But yes, this is what I'll be covering. How do you engineer the prompts? How do you understand the context